You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
I'm Stephen Cabral, and today on our first show of the weekend, we're taking your questions. So we've got 3 great questions today, one supplement-based, and then we've got some allergy-based ones. We've got a little bit of nutrition mixed in there as well. And really, all these questions come in from the community through the past week or two. And, if you have a question, always feel free to ask it. Meaning, you can just go to stephencabral.com/ask Cabral. You can ask it anonymously if you would like. And I am happy to always answer those questions because, I really do appreciate it too. I honestly, we get so many compliments really every day saying that people aren't able to access this information elsewhere, that they're specialists, that they're GI doctors, and that their MDs, PCPs just don't know a lot of the answers to these questions. And the truth is that I'm only fortunate enough, and I can say that now, to know a lot of these answers because I've had to suffer through what so many other people are currently suffering with now. And I got my answers by just continuing to not give up, by continuing to say, there has to be an answer. Other people have gotten well. Why can't I get well? And of course, that search took me all over the world, studying literally all over the East in India and Sri Lanka and China, and in Europe, and I studied all over the U.S. as well. And my study's not over. I read multiple books per week, and I read still well over 100 to probably 150 books per year still to this day. And one of the big things that I find is that, again, having read well over 3,000 books, is that a lot of these books are saying the same exact thing. The problem is the implementation might be a little bit different in each one of those. So on these podcasts, and especially answering your questions, I like to just extract the information from all these different research studies and books that I may have read and just try to explain it in maybe a little bit different way, a little bit more of approachable way, only because a lot of the authors, although absolutely brilliant people, sometimes they don't work directly with people. And again, I have the benefit of seeing people every day in my practice and then being able to kind of gauge how they respond to how I explain things. And when I start to get a little too deep into the science and I start to see people's eyes glaze over, then I pull back and I just try to explain it just from a different angle, one that's more approachable, because all that really matters is that you understand why you're doing something and what to do. So let's get into today's questions. First question, and I apologize that I do not have the person's name, but they asked me to review a product, and I don't always review products and supplements that people ask about, but I'm going to review this one today, and it's because that it's a local company. It's a Boston-based company, and they're out of MIT, and they're called Elysium. And this company started with one particular product called Basis, and that's what I was asked to review, I believe. It was just a little confusing, the question, but this is the product that I believe that they were asking me to talk about because it helps with DNA repair and those types of things. So now the product is something that I'm very familiar with. I use a different company that has these things in the product. And the main thing is called nicotinamide riboside. And nicotinamide riboside is actually something used by the mitochondria and in the cells to produce energy. So it has to do specifically with these things called sirtuins and how NAD is actually a part of the building blocks of how we rebuild, how we regenerate, how we're producing energy, and a lot to do with our longevity. So I think it's a great product. I think it's a fantastic product as well for energy basis as well. And I have no problem with this product. In the beginning, I had a problem with it, and I really did. And the reason is they used to use blue and red dyes in their product to give it a very fancy color. Basically, it was this beautiful blue soft gel, and it looked something like something out of the Matrix, the movies, and it was great. But the problem is they were using things that are supposed to help with longevity, like this product was, but they were using compounds that could potentially lead to other issues within the health of the body. So they replaced that, and now it's simply a white powder. There's no color to it, and there's none of the dyes. So again, great product to use. No issues with that. It also comes with a powerful antioxidant that comes from blueberries that they use with the nicotinamide riboside, just NAD. It's an easier way to say it. But the product that I use in my practice, and I like to look for products that are also synergies, meaning like Thorne Research has a product called Neurochondria. It's great for the nervous system, it's great for energy, and it's great for anti-aging. It contains ubiquinol, which is like a coenzyme Q10. It contains this NAD, or actually another product called Niacel contains that. These two products together, I'm going to explain, work absolutely fantastic together. It contains alpha-lipoic acid, methylcobalamin, which is the activated form of B12. And then the Thorne's other kind of like sister product, we'll call it, is Niacel, which is the NAD. So these two products together, now they're expensive. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line. These are expensive products, but they actually guarantee them. Thorne Research guarantees it. And they say that if you don't increase your energy, if you don't feel more vibrant, then they'll give you your money back. And I love when a company guarantees their product. So that's why I'm using Thorne Research as well. So hopefully that answers your question. I think they're both great products. I just don't use the Elysium brand in my practice. I use Thorne Research. I like their research. They've been around a long time, and they just have great products and great quality. And there's more items in the product, which means I don't have to then recommend other products on top of that. I can just use those specific ones. Okay. Next question is a great one. Dana G is asking, is there any difference between yogurt and kefir? Now, kefir is Kefir. Some people pronounce it kefir. Some people pronounce it kefir. When I'm overseas, where they're actually producing this all the time, they refer to it as kefir, and so I will refer to it as kefir. So now kefir is basically like a drinkable yogurt. Like that is what it looks like. You buy it in a bottle and you can pour it out and you can actually have a glass of it. Where yogurt, you're typically eating with a spoon. Now, when I was living in clinics overseas in Sri Lanka and in India, they served yogurt and something called quark, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, but it was pronounced or is spelled Quark, quark, and it was basically like a liquid yogurt. It was almost a cross between kefir and yogurt. But I want to explain the difference because there's actually a difference. And so looking into the differences between these, you'll see a stark difference in one moment. But the way they're made, and this is kind of part of the giveaway, is that kefir is made from, a milk kefir, usually goat or cow or sheep, and it's made at room temperature, which means it's cultured at room temperature. So with both of these, you're using some type of like powder or grain-based starter, and that's how you're making it. But with yogurt, you're using so it's called mesophilic is when you culture it at room temperature, and thermophilic is when you heat it. So yogurt is actually made with heat. And now it's not so high that it kills the good bacteria. It's typically cultured around 110 degrees. Above 118, you start to kill enzymes and those types of things. So that's the difference in how they're made. Now, the big difference for me, and one of the reasons why I'm more likely to recommend kefir than yogurt, one step before we get to that, is that the difference in taste, if you haven't tried them before, kefir is very tart. Like where I think yogurt is a little bit more sour tasting, kefir has this tartness, and that's because there's usually more bacterial, other strains of bacteria, but also yeast. It hasn't been fully cultured out like it will be with a lot of the yogurts that's cooked at a higher temperature. So it has a very unique tart flavor to it. I'm not a big fan, I should say, taste-wise of either yogurt or kefir. That's my personal opinion. I just don't like that taste. I don't like the sour, the tart taste in my mouth. But that doesn't mean there's not benefit from it. I just don't like the taste. So yogurt, though, now here's the big difference. Yogurt has this beneficial bacteria that can do great things and clean the gut, but it's transient, which means it doesn't stick. Those bacteria come in, they do a little bit of work, they do a little bit of cleanup, and then they move on. And with kefir, they can actually colonize the intestinal tract, which is pretty amazing. Like, this is a bacteria that you're not just taking like a probiotic, you're actually taking it and it will help to recolonize the actual gut. So again, I'm more of an advocate of kefir, and I'm not an advocate of any cows-based yogurt or cows-based kefir because I do so much food sensitivity testing, and I can show people exactly like, look, you're sensitive to cow's milk. whenever you take cow's milk, whether it's yogurt-based or cheese-based or whatever it might be based, that is affecting you. You're actually having an immune response. It's going to cause inflammation and it's going to exacerbate issues. And a lot of people have intestinal permeability, so it's going to seep through the gut wall. That's a problem. Now, with kefir, I always recommend the goat's based. They make great goat's based kefir varieties. And you can drink this at room temperature. You can even drink it, you can put it in the refrigerator, keep it cool. And you can test it out that way. So anyway, try a sheep or goat-based kefir if you're looking to try some of that and you don't believe that you have any sensitivities to it. But if you have histamine issues, you have SIBO, you have candida issues, wait on adding any dairy into your diet. So hopefully it answers your question. I thought it was pretty enlightening when I first read that research myself. And now my last question and answer today is with ExPat Allergy Mom. She's talked about her daughter who has a lot of allergies and more of on the anaphylactic variety, which means that she has to carry EpiPens, and she's worried about when she travels overseas because you don't know what you could be exposed to. Now, this is a tough one for me because I love helping kids in my practice. I hate seeing them suffer. And so obviously I want to try to help as much as I can. However, I don't like not only making kids feel like we can't do certain things because of their health issues, because I know how that feels. I was a little older. I was 17, but I know what it's like having to cook different foods for the only one in the family being me when I grew up, with 3 siblings and my parents who just weren't used to eating that way and having to make like special gluten-free things. And it was hard, back then. It's a little easier now because you have so many great gluten-free varieties, but I don't want you, expat mom, is to shy away from traveling, is just to do it as safely as you can, to go to areas like if you're in South Africa, there's a lot of major cities. I don't think you're going to be exposed to a lot of the things unless they're environmental based. That's a different story. But food based, a lot of the restaurants are going to be exactly the same as they would be here in the US. So I hate having to not give your child the experiences that everyone deserves, the whole family and them as well, as long as you can do it safely, of course. Safety is paramount. That comes first. But when I read your story and I read all the different questions you had about all the different allergies your daughter has, and there are so many, whenever I see that, I know that it's not really an IgG or an IgE issue. I mean, it is. Like, you're having those type of immune-based responses, but the problem is there's most likely just a large amount of intestinal permeability going on with your daughter. And it's from either just the gut didn't fully populate with good bacteria when she was young, for many different reasons. I'm not going to get into that now. Or maybe she took antibiotics, or maybe that she got exposed to a certain type of bacteria. But the bottom line is this, that she needs to, yes, eliminate those foods right now that cause the histamine issues, that cause the mast cell production, that cause these allergies. But she has to cut down on the greatest allergens right now, which are a lot of heavy animal proteins, because the proteins just aren't being digested that well. That's why they're causing issues as well. But also, you have to seal up that gut wall. So at some point, we need to clean the gut, and then we need to use products like, yes, bone broth is great, but bone broth can have its own issues because of histamine-based issues. So sometimes you can't use any of the meat, any of the skin, just has to be the bone. Anyway, we'll get into that another topic. And please look back on previous episodes on how to make bone broth so that it's not histamine-laced. But also, you have to somehow get in there a little, very small amount of L-glutamine to start and some zinc carnosine to start rebuilding that gut wall. And I could go on, and please do tune into future episodes, because to rebuild the gut wall of a child is the same to rebuild the gut wall of an adult. It just is a smaller amount, and we dose based on a 150-pound adult, which means if the serving size is, let's say, a teaspoon, then we're only going to use about, let's say, a fourth of a teaspoon, for about a 40-pound or so child. So again, you can dose from there. Happy to answer and give more tips in the future. But I think the bottom line is this. Until you close up that gut wall, you're going to allow all sorts of foods to move through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream, and then the IgE and IgG and other immunoglobulins are going to go crazy attacking these foods that weren't properly broken down, and they see as foreign invaders in the body. That's going to cause, not only going to cause inflammation, potential joint pain, potential health issues, ear, nose, and throat issues, chest congestion, skin rashes, psoriasis, eczema, but it's also going to cause issues that look like ADD, ADHD, Asperger's, or some type of spectrum-based disorder. And again, this goes back to the digestive tract. This isn't a mental or a brain-based issue. This is a gut-based issue. And I could go on and on about this all day. And it's because I see kids in my practice every single day day who have these so-called executive functioning issues where really what they have is an immune system that's running wild because of gut-based dysfunction. And again, like, this isn't me as the first person saying that. There are many, many books written on this, but the truth is that what we need to do is clear this up while your daughter's a child so that she doesn't have to suffer with this as she goes on in life. So hopefully it answered your question or at least gave you a place to start. Thank you everyone for tuning in to another Cabral Concept, and I'll be back tomorrow with another House Call edition.
Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.